I'd like to start with the story of Alexander Tara Reid. You're gonna get to know that name very intimately over the course of this show, and I don't think you're gonna soon forget it because it's the story of a young staffer who worked for Joe Biden back in the 90s who was sexually assaulted by Joe Biden. That's the allegation. That's the allegation. She says, good old Joe, working class Joe, everyday Joe, middle class, working class, milk box, lunch pail, Joe, fighting for the working class, fighting for the working people. That Joe Biden sexually assaulted her, humiliated her, touched her inappropriately, penetrated her. I'm going to play for you. I'm going to play for you a clip, right? Let's make sure everybody shared this, right? Because we want people to know about this. They need to know what this great progressive candidate did. Everyone needs to know about great Joe, about how this amazing Joe, the Joe, I know Joe. We know Joe. You know him, huh? You sure you know him, James? You sure you know him? I know Joe. We know Joe. And Joe knows us. Well, okay. I'm going to hold you to your word there, James. Mr. Clyburn, sir, I'm going to hold you to your word. Yes, sir. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold you to your damn word, sir. I want to introduce you to a lady that says she knows Joe. Maybe a little differently than you know Joe. Okay? All right. Her name is Alexander Tara Reid. She goes by Tara Reid. Okay? Tara Reid recently gave an exclusive interview to a friend of mine, a friend of the show, Katie Halper. Katie is great. Known Katie online for years. Always admire her work. She did a podcast. She did an interview with Tara Reid. I think it was Wednesday. And she broke this story, guys. Ryan Grimm wrote about it in The Intercept. Subsequently, Tara Reid went on the Rising with Sagar and Crystal Ball today. Here goes a clip of Katie Halper interviewing Miss Reid, where she lays it out for you in a way that's so there can be no question about where she stands.
So here, Tara finally tells the rest of the story that she hasn't been able to tell in the past. Not surprisingly, there are no witnesses to Tara's story of alleged assault, but Tara's brother and Tara's close friend, both of whom I spoke to, recall Tara telling them about the incident at the time. Here is an excerpt. I'll be releasing the full interview shortly, and this opens with Tara describing a superior calling her into her office to ask her to do an errand. So she says that she
called me in and said, I want you to take this to Joe. He wants it. He wants you to bring it. Hurry. And I said, okay. And it was a gym bag. She said, take the gym bag. She called it athletic bag. And, she said he was down towards the Capitol and he'll meet you. And so I went down and I was heading down towards there. And he was at first talking to someone. I could see him at a different distance, and then they went away. And then we were in like the side. It was like the side area. And he just said, hey, come here, Tara. And then I handed him the thing and he greeted me. He remembered my name. And then we were alone, and it was the strangest thing. There was no like exchange really. He just had me up against the wall. And I was wearing like a skirt and, business skirt, but I wasn't wearing stockings. It was kind of a hot day that day, and I was wearing heels. And I remember my legs had been hurting from the marble, of the Capitol, like walking. And so I remember that kind of stuff. I remember like I was wearing a blouse and he just had me up against the wall, and the wall was cold. And I remember it happened all at once. The gym bag, I don't know where it went. I handed it to him, it was gone. And then his hands were on me and underneath my clothes. And and then he went down my skirt, but then up inside it. And he penetrated me with his fingers, whatever. And he was kissing me at the same time, and he was saying something to me. He said several things, and I can't remember everything he said. I remember a couple of things. I remember him saying first, before, like as he was doing it, do you want to go somewhere else? And then him saying to me when I pulled away, he got finished doing what he was doing, and I kind of was pulled back, and he said, come on, man, I heard you liked me. And it's that phrase stayed with me because I kept thinking what I might have said. And I can't remember exactly if he said I thought or if I heard, but it's like he implied like that I had done this. Like, I don't know. And for me, it was like everything shattered in that moment, because I knew like we were alone. It was over, right? He wasn't trying to do anything more, but I looked up to him. He was like my father's age. He was this champion of women's rights in my eyes. And I couldn't believe it was happening. It seemed surreal. And I just felt sick because when he pulled back, he looked annoyed, and he said something else to me that I don't want to say. And then he said, I must have looked shocked, and he grabbed me by the shoulders. I don't know how I looked, but I must have looked something, because he grabbed me by the shoulders and he said, you're okay. You're fine. You're okay. You're fine. And then he walked away and he went on with his day. And what I remember next is being in the Russell building, like where the big windows are, and the stairs by myself. And my body, I was shaking everywhere and it was cold all of a sudden. And I don't know, I felt like I was shaking just everywhere. And I was trying to grasp what had just happened and what I should do or what I should say. But I knew it was bad because he was so angry. Like when he left, like I could feel, you know how when you know someone's angry, they don't necessarily have to say anything. Like he smiles when he's angry, and you can just feel it emanating from him. Like,
do you want to share that thing that you said you don't like? You said like I don't want to say what he said. That thing he said to you.
Yeah, I can. I guess I could.
I mean, you don't have to.
It's okay. It's just it's almost like giving a weapon to them.
How so?
Well, it's like I don't want them to know how much it hurt. I don't, I don't want him to know when I don't know. But
that, yeah, like that you remembered it?
Yeah, just I don't know. But yeah, I can say it. Yeah, there was something he said that I didn't want to say, and I didn't want to say it because it's the thing that stays in my head over and over, and it's a thing that kind of stayed with me over the years. But he said, when he had me against the wall after I pulled away, and he had said, hey, come on, I heard you liked me. And I knew he was angry right after he took his finger. He just like pointed at me and he said, you're nothing to me. And then he just looked at me and he goes, you're nothing. And then I must have reacted. And I think he only said it twice. I said, but I just heard the word nothing. And I must have reacted because that's when he took me by the shoulders and he said, you're okay. You're fine. You're okay. But then afterwards, like it kept replaying in my head. And like last April, when all that stuff came out, I got really, really sad about it. And the thing that I remember most, almost more than the assault itself, was just being told I was nothing. And he was right. That's how people treated me. That's how office treated me. And I have no platform. I am no one. And to him, I'm nothing. So, yeah.
All right, that was tough stuff to listen to. That's pretty sad and disgusting stuff to hear. Much worse stuff to actually go through. Situations like this, we should all think of people that we love being in similar situations, and how will we feel about that then? All naysayers, imagine it being your daughter or your wife or your mother or your sister. And that kind of should bring you back out of reality. And if that doesn't work, just imagine it being you, and then maybe you'll give a damn. But the thing about it is, this is an allegation being made. Sounds very credible to me. Sounds very detailed. Katie Halper today released the full interview. It's an hour long. Very detailed, very, very descriptive, leading up to everything in the office environment, to the aftermath when she reported it. She did report it as sexual harassment, Johnson. So there are people who don't read the articles, maybe not read the articles, sort of like read the headlines and just assume, oh, she just brought this up today. That's interesting. No, she actually reported it before then. She reported it back in the 90s. She told people about it in the 90s. And when Lucy Flores, who formerly, she made some allegations herself about Joe Biden's inappropriate touching, she came out then too. This was back in April, I think. And she was quickly dismissed as being a Russian operative. Because we all know anybody who says anything about anyone in the DNC works for Russia. Or they work for Trump. Very quickly, everything very quickly panned is that. I myself am a Russian bot, if you don't know. And, and don't let the fact that I grew up in Maryland and was born in D.C. fool you. Yeah, man, I'm Putin's friend, man, because Putin just loves black boy-headed guys from the D.C. metropolitan area. Man, he just, woo, yeah. And that's just what they've been using to shut everybody up. So, Miss Reed this is not new. What this is, okay, damn it, people need to listen to this. This needs to be taken seriously. Here is, let's see.
But Time's Up, Ryan Grim reports, was concerned.
Let me take that off. Here goes, let's see, do we have? No. Now, we need to remember, guys, let's try to remember who we're talking about here. There goes Tara Tweets. Reed Alexandra, right here on Twitter. We follow each other on Twitter. I want people to know, and I want to frame this the correct way for folks. And I think one way to do that is to remind people. Let me remind you that we're not talking about Joe Biden today. No, we're not talking about this Joe Biden. Right? We're talking about Joe Biden in the 90s. 1993 is when she says this incident took place. So I want to make sure people know who we're talking about, and sort of like this. Let's look at Joe, 1993, 2003, 20. Yeah, almost 20 years ago. This is a little bit different guy, right? Here goes Joe Biden 20 years ago.
We must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street.
Yeah. So like I feel the same way Joe felt in the 90s. I feel like I don't care why he did it. No, I don't care why he did it. I don't care what led him down this path where he was touching women. I don't care what his influences was. I don't care what he was thinking at the time. I don't care what happened in his life. I feel the same way. I feel that he should be taken off the street. Just like Joe felt the way about teenagers. That's who he's talking about in that video. On the Senate floor, he's talking about teenagers who need to be locked up forever because they might take a lead pipe to his mother. His mother was never attacked with a lead pipe by random teenagers, but that's neither here nor there. It's all sensationalism to demonize people. Back to this. Tara Reid, why didn't people help her? Why isn't her story out? Why aren't people talking about it? Well, she went to a couple of organizations. She talked to some folks. Around the same time that Lucy Flores told her story about Joe Biden, about the same time that happened, she said, well, you know what? Ms. Reid said, you know what, I need to go out. I need to tell my story. I need to back her up. I need not let her be the only voice on this issue. And a number of women came forward and said that Joe Biden had inappropriately touched them, or Joe Biden, or whatever. Joe Biden was handsy, something to that extent. She told a piece of her story which that matched what had happened to Ms. Flores, plus she had filed a contemporaneous complaint, and there were witnesses. So she considered an allegation bulletproof. Oh, people got to believe me. I filed a report. I have witnesses. I told people about it then. I'm telling people about it now. And then she gave an interview to a local reporter. The short article brought a wave of attention on her, along with accusations that she was doing the bidding of Russian President Vladimir Putin. So she went quiet. You may remember that The View, Sonny Hoiston, Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, they talked about Lucy Flores on the show. And with no evidence at all that Lucy Flores had exaggerated the situation or wasn't being truthful, they decided right there on that show that there's no way Joe Biden could touch a woman inappropriately. It's impossible that Joe Biden could be inappropriate. Not Joe. He's such a nice guy. They still have shows, and they still give their opinions. Well, after seeing that, what happened to Ms. Flores, and after being labeled a Russian bot, she decided to go quiet again. Now, I'm reading an article from The Intercept. Ryan Grimm wrote this article. Shout out to Ryan Grimm. Reid supported Elizabeth Warren and then later supports Bernie Sanders. She thought about what the world she wanted her daughter to live in and decided that she wanted to continue telling her story and push back against what she saw as online defamation. That's right, Johnson. They doxed her for talking about Joe Biden. Yeah. So she contacted Time's Up, the organization that was raised a lot of money online to help women to end sexual harassment of women in the wake of the Me Too movement. This would help, survivors and give them the ability to tell their stories. The Time's Up Legal Defense Fund was the recipient of an outpouring of donations over the past 2+ years. It's set up as a 501(c) nonprofit housed within the National Women's Law Center, launched in December 2017. They famously raised a record whopping $24 million online. So big, and they spent over $10 million put aside to help accusers, to fund PR work for accusers, to help accusers tell their stories. In January of this year, Ms. Reid, she spoke with a program director at the NWLC, the National Women's Law Center, and was encouraged by the conversation, and they told her to talk to Time's Up. Okay? So these are the steps that she took in order to get the message out. But turns out Time's Up director Sharon Tiani said that no assistance could be provided because the person she was accusing, Joe Biden, was a candidate for federal office, and assisting a case against him could jeopardize the organization's nonprofit status. So it could be construed. Let me make this clear, okay? The fact that they are a 501(c), they're a nonprofit to help women. If they got involved, Joe Biden being a candidate in the Democratic race, some would frame it as if it was like opposition in a political contest, and that would be put it in a different category, which could cause them to lose their nonprofit status. So I don't know if that's true or not. It sounds credible. It sounds like I could see people making a claim. I mean, if they're going to call Miss Reed a Russian operative because Joe Biden touched her, and inconveniently for them, Joe Biden happens to be running for president, if she's going to be called a Russian operative with no evidence at all of Russian operative stuff, of course, they'd be very easy to frame this all as political, and the Time's Up organization is using itself as a political instrument in order to hurt a candidate, and it's no longer a nonprofit. It's in the actual political business, the political space. So I don't see it unreasonable to say that, yeah, that might be an issue for Time's Up, because they'll use whatever they can to defend good old Joe. Because like James Clyburn said, I know Joe. We know Joe. And Joe knows us. Yeah. I just find it, first of all, I find it disgusting, right? I find it disgusting and despicable that allegedly Joe Biden did this. I find it very hard to look away from it. I find it that we need to stand up to it. I think we need to have more people discuss it. I think that the independent media is going to lead the way on this, which we lead the way on all things that are debilitating to the establishment, that the establishment is too cowardly or too biased to cover. That's what we do, right? But we have to cover this story. It's an obligation. And that's why I want to support everyone getting the word out, spreading this, making sure people know that this cannot stand. And look, even if CNN and MSNBC and ABC and CBS, all the other corporate media, even if they refuse to cover the story, you can bet one thing and one thing for sure. Donald Trump ain't going to refuse to touch the story. Yeah, Donald Trump is not going to sit back on it. He's not going to be squeamish talking about it. They tried to destroy Donald Trump because he said what he could do. I wonder if Donald Trump will have an incentive to destroy Joe Biden by what women actually said he did. And there goes your more high ground, Democrats. That one thing you were kind of holding on to. Because there's no excitement surrounding the Joe Biden candidacy. There's no energy around his campaign. It was all about, we just need Joe in there because we got to get rid of Trump because Trump's so horrible. Well, what happens if people can make the argument that Joe Biden is as bad as Trump, and some would say worse? Yeah, it kind of goes away, doesn't it, Johnson? The whole, we need to right the ship. We need to just come together as Americans. We need to just build together. We need to be our true selves. We can always, there's nothing ever nothing that we can't do. Anything we want to do, we can do. Yeah, we see that now, Joe. You can do whatever you want to do, and you were doing whatever you wanted to do for a long time, Joe. That's what it looks like to me, Joe. Once Joe Biden be forced to have to address this issue and it not be pushed under the rug by a bunch of women who want to kiss his ass instead of deal with the issue. How about some women who have courage and heart and empathy actually hold Joe accountable and ask questions and make him answer those questions without defending him, talking about he's their old grandpa. He wasn't always a grandpa, Johnson.
We must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enable them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons.
There's going to be a town hall tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, CNN Town Hall, where Joe Biden will be able to be able to meander from subject to subject as they discuss or as they attempt to get Joe Biden to discuss the situation with the coronavirus. How much do you want to bet? I think Anderson Cooper's going to be hosting this. Former Vice President Joe Biden will participate in the CNN Town Hall Friday night, focused on the coronavirus and other stuff that he just wanders into. The coronavirus pandemic, a CNN Democratic presidential town hall with Joe Biden, will air at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and feature questions submitted by individuals living in some of the communities hit hardest by the coronavirus. How much you guys want to bet that old Anderson won't be asking this question? Yeah, I got a feeling he won't be asked about Miss Reed.
Reassess the recommended period for keeping businesses shut and people at home. Are you at all concerned, as Trump said, that we cannot let the cure be worse than the problem itself?
We have to take care of the cure. That will make the problem worse no matter what. No matter what. We know what has to be done. We know you have to.
Yeah, Johnson. Yeah, we got to take care of the cure, because that'll make the problem worse no matter what. Yep. Not very lucid, is he? Well, one of the things, and it's going to be interesting about this, because at some point it will get voiced, I think. It may be voiced about Joe Biden and his allegations, or he may have to actually respond and actually be questioned about Tara Reid. He might not even remember it. I mean, he's so many things that he forgets. So many misremembers and so many just absent thought, slippings of thinking and incongruent thoughts that he has in his head. I mean, maybe it's possible he doesn't even know where he is right now. Which brings me back to the same old story, which is how this guy became the nominee to these people who want Bernie to drop out. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. That's their guy. That guy right there. The guy who can't answer a sentence. And the guy who needs to answer for Tara Reid and answer for these allegations. Yeah. So anyway, we'll be covering this tomorrow. Phone lines will be open tomorrow night on the show, where you can call in and voice your opinions about Joe Biden yourself and whatever other issues you want to talk about. But I'd really love to hear what people think about Joe Biden and about Miss Reed's allegations about it. They want Bernie to drop out, and they want to keep Joe Biden, alleged fingerer of young women old enough to be their daughters. And this gets worse than that, too. They muscled her out of her job, too. And then muscled her out of her career, basically. She can get another job working on Capitol Hill because she told. So these people that say, oh, my God, why didn't she tell more people? Yeah, she lost her job and lost her career effectively, because I don't know if you know, I do, because I live in D.C. and I've worked in D.C. my entire life. If you work government contracting, and particularly in politics, there's one particular place to be, and that would be Capitol Hill. And word travels fast about you as a troublemaker, particularly in the 90s. God, come on, guys. But we had these people that say they're advocates for women who are not.